What's up, everyone? I'm Darren Rivera, and this is Me and Your Pops. It's a show about fatherhood. Every week, I sit down with a dad from all walks of life. We talk about parenting, relationships, mess ups, recovery, mental health, and everything in between. Sometimes we laugh, sometimes it hits us in the heart, but all the conversations are real. Being a father of two girls that are 20 years apart, and just throughout my life, I've met some amazing fathers, and I just wanted to give them an opportunity to tell their story, to relate to them, and just show different experiences that we go through. So I created the show, and I think you're going to enjoy getting to know these guys. They're great dads. Welcome to Me and Your Pops. Today's guest is someone that I've shared the stage with quite a few times in the last few years. Comedian JJ Jones. One thing I really enjoy about this talk is it reminds us that there's different paths to becoming a parent. JJ is a stepfather. I grew up with two amazing step-parents who molded me into the man that I am today. My wife is an amazing stepmother. And JJ and I talk about what it really means to step into that role. The challenges, the rewards, building love and trust with the children that didn't start off as his own. So whether you're a biological parent, a step parent, or someone who's had that kind of shift, I think you'll really enjoy getting to know JJ. All right. I feel the step parent doesn't, especially a stepfather, doesn't really get like its recognition, like any step parent. And having two step parents that played such a huge role in my life, I've never even asked them. I've never asked them like what they were thinking. Because it's like at what point did you realize that you're just not dating somebody with a kid? You're going to be the parent now. You're going to be the other parent.
Well, my wife was like, we're just looking for someone to add to our lives. It was always the family unit. And so, and I always, I always knew she had kids. I never knew her without kids. So, that was just, I knew what I was getting into. Like, I was either gonna become a parent or, this wasn't for me.
So you always knew her as having kids. So you were just adding another piece to their family, right?
Yeah. And I came in at the ages when I came in were like 13 and like 5. So like they were
Okay.
already in it with the youth sports. So like kind of from the get-go, I was going to like baseball games and um, their dad wasn't around too much, so just jumped in with 2 feet,
Is he
figured it
around
out.
now? Is he around now?
Yeah, he's around more now.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
He's reaping the
um,
benefits. All your
yeah,
hard work. All your hard work. Well, I feel like that's a part of it, right? Because it's not I'm not bashing someone I don't know, but it's that happened with my mom and my stepmom, right? Like my mom wasn't around, she was in her drug addiction. So my stepmom put up with everything. She raised me from like 12 on. And then when I was in college, my mom was like, "Hey." And my stepmom is, it took me years to like really fucking really regret the way I treated her type of thing because I think that's a thing too. I think sometimes step parents get the bad end of it because the child doesn't know how to just say I'm mad at the parent.
yeah,
So it's like the better you are, the more you get sometimes probably. I don't know if did you have any experiences with that?
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I hit the lottery. Like people talk about like nightmare step parent situations, and like I never had that. Like they were always open to me being part of their life. Like I never had a "you're not my dad" moment.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and we like bonded over different things, and we found the stuff that we like doing together and hanging out together, and it just went from there. And they're my kids. Like a lot of people don't even know I'm the stepdad. Sometimes it's pretty funny.
Do
Um,
they do people ever say or have ever said like you look just like your dad, meaning you and
not
it's like
not looks, but other stuff like it's funny you talk about nurture versus like nature. Like my oldest, I came around 13, And his
Right.
personality is more like my wife. Like he's a little more like reserved and he thinks about stuff and he's a rule follower. But my youngest, Jackson, who was like 5 when I came around, like a lot of people are like, holy crap, he's like you. Like he's Mr. Sarcasm, Mr. One Liners, Mr. Yeah, rules are more guidelines than anything. But,
Right. Right. Right.
so like, that's kind of cool. So yeah, once, like, yeah, I've had those moments. Like someone was like, wow, you walk just like your sons. And I was like, cool. I'm not biologically related to them, so I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. My brother, um, my stepfather picked up my brother from school, and they were like, "You look just like him." And my stepfather was black, and my brother, like, it was one of those like. But my brother, ironically, like my brother had so many mannerisms of my stepfather that like I see it. Like you'd be like, you do look like Ron. Like, do they call you JJ or do they call you Dad?
JJ.
That's cool. Did you ever want to be called Dad?
Yeah, I mean, like at first, like when you first in it and you're just figuring it out, because it is this weird thing, right? You're just figuring it out. Like I'm learning how to parent from my wife, and at first you're like, that kind of sucks. I'll never be called dad. But then you realize like it's about the relationship, not a name. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's plenty of people that are really shitty at being a dad who are called dad. So like, yeah, at first it wasn't like I was mad at it, but I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of weird. But now it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, I didn't call. I called my step parents by their name, and then now I refer to my stepmom as mom. But I refer. I don't think I call it to her directly, but to my brother and my dad, I refer to her as mom.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's crazy. It's like I think even though I have step parents and I respect it, I don't know if I could have done it. I don't know if I could do it. I'm barely doing the job as with the kids that are mine, let alone let alone like step it up for somebody that's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like weird parts that you don't have. Like the first when you're like disciplining them early on, you're like, oh, like are they gonna turn around and be like, yeah, yeah, that's not your gig, you know? Like, um, but I think they realize like I was there every day, like that. You know, my wife's like, if you're gonna do this, you gotta show up every day. So, and I did. So, and the kids I think saw that, and so things went pretty smooth. Like I wish I had, not wish, but I wish I had that funny, you're not my dad moment. But we never had that.
Right.
They just
Now
had
what's
their
your
get quiet and go tell mom they're pissed at me.
nice, nice. I had that moment. I told my stepmom she wasn't my mom.
How'd that go over?
Oh, it sucked. It bothers me to this day. I think it probably bothers me more than it bothered her. I like looking back. It's so crazy. It's like I think being a parent, like whether they're your kids, not just seeing kids grow, and then as you grow, and how you look at parenting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Were you close with your dad?
yeah, like to the point where like I knew I could never be as good of a parent as my dad was. Like my dad was the greatest, and
Is he still with us or no longer with
no,
us?
no.
Okay.
So like
Like
that's that was hard too because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna try to be the best dad ever, but I could never be as cool as my dad or as. But
yeah, I think you are, right? Because you don't know how they look at you, Like if I had them on a podcast talking about you, you may be surprised.
oh yeah, like once in a while, like stuff happens and you're like yes. Like my son that just got out of college, he's like, a couple of my friends want to have a beer with you, and I was like, oh cool, a couple of your college buddies, that's cool. I'll do that. And then my wife's like, they want to have a beer with you because of how he talks about you, right? Like that's not random. And I'm like, yes, he thinks I'm cool now.
Right, right.
The
Yeah.
the
Well,
middle schooler, not so much right now. I gotta wait a couple years, Now everything I do is not cool.
yeah, it sucks. I'm going through that now myself. I'm going through that with my daughter. Like every day she shows me more love, I'm like, she's not gonna talk to me. I get now why like girl dads go through this like spoiled phase. I used to always think it was just like, oh, you're just spoiling your daughter, and it's just like you're just holding on
Yeah.
because you know the kind of person she's going to become. And it's going to be a female version of you, which that sucks, right? Or worse, she's going to be like her mother, like, and that's even worse, like, right? And that's like, who wants a young, vibrant, small version of their wife? Like, I don't.
Yeah, one's
Like,
enough.
yeah, she said to me, so I always joke around with my wife being so nosy, right? The other day I was taking her to school and I was at the red light and I was being nosy watching Hartford be Hartford, right? I was just so, and my daughter's like, Dad, what are you looking at? And I'm just like, nothing. And she said, Dad, but you're looking over there. Like, what are you looking at? Like, and just all these questions. And I'm like, stop being nosy, but I'm being nosy. Right.
Yeah.
So it's already beginning. Right. It's like, do as I say, that do say as I do, or whatever that phrase was, you know? Uh, um, so I guess it would be different, obviously. What was the first time that like your 13-year-old like broke your heart, got you like emotional?
Um, and like what kind of way? Like you did something cool?
I whatever. I mean, how you take it? Like what, you know?
I don't know. I remember like one thing I always remember that people tell you is a thing. Like he was a pretty good baseball player, played high school baseball, and I remember like him having a like whenever he was up in like I think it was like a state playoff game and he had been in a slump and I'm just sitting there and I've never wanted anything so bad for someone. Like, you know what I mean? And he ended up
Yeah,
striking out and you're just like, oh. It's like so much worse when it's your kid. Like I played sports and like I've done things that are like, kind of nerve-wracking on a low level thing, but it was way worse when it was your kid. Way worse.
yeah.
And honestly, the first one didn't really break any rules, so we didn't have any of those problems. Now the younger one, that's a mini version of me, I'm gonna have to start putting friggin' numbers on my beers pretty soon here. Like,
That's so funny to me that like he's like so you know, and you know it, like you know what
yeah,
I mean. Like you can't, like he can't pull one off on you because you're like, I wrote this script that you're reading.
yes, he'll try to get away with stuff, and it's like, hey, you admit we're alike, so this is not gonna work. It didn't work for me in 1997. It's not working for you now, pal.
Um,
But people say that, like at his school, like my wife, her friends that teach that he has in class, they'll be like, yeah, he was throwing out one-liners today, and I was like, I feel like I have JJ in my class right now. I'm like, sorry.
yeah, yeah. Ronnie just had a her first like performance, and when she walked out, you would have thought like this was her thing. You know what I mean? Like she was like nervous, and she told me she was nervous the night before, and she walked out like waving to people, and everyone's like looking at me like, I wonder where she gets that from, and I'm like, not me. I'm not like that before I go on stage. You know what I mean? She's like, I think having the children do anything similar to us sports I'm not ready for because she played soccer this year. And as you know, being one, a soccer fan, a coach, right?
Yeah,
4-year-old soccer
is terrible.
is horrible. It's horrible. And we put her in this program that her sister's little brother had played in last year. And the coach for the 3-year-olds, she was great. She knew she was dealing with 3-year-olds. Like she like got them to, follow like rules and was disciplined. The guy we get this year is the guy who created the program, but plays on a high level. So doesn't understand that like they're four.
Yeah,
Like literally first day, he's like, all right, we're doing toe taps, right? And you're like, my kid is either going to be in the World Cup or like, you know what I mean? Or it's just going to be so discouraged. There was no organization. And it was really like, because I didn't really go through that with my oldest. So it was like my first experience with like kid sports where I was like, oh, I'm not looking forward to this at all, you know?
yeah. It's like
Because
you just want the kids to have fun when they're 4 years old. Who gives a shit what they're like doing?
he, that's what I got to work on. Like I got to work on that part because I do, but I'm competitive. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm just like,
Yeah, I get it, but like I also am like I want them to play next year. Like I want them to like have
right?
fun and or find the sports that they like. Like I don't care what it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just have
no,
coaches
yeah,
that make it so they're like, "Hey, I want to do that again."
Right, and that's what we were looking for. We were looking for like energy, or we were looking for like he had nothing. He didn't have like first day. Parents are going up one by one complaining. Then we're going up to like the higher arc, and I was like, is this where like she's 4, right? And I am complaining like it's she just got cut from the World Cup team. And then they were like, then they split the teams up in countries, right? And it's just this free for all. Oh my God, I was like, yeah, I'm not. And then she's like dancing and she's like, Dad, I want to dance again. I'm like, yeah, I think that might be the way to go next year. But I want to get her into running. My whole family ran. And she has like that. I don't know if you feel this way with sports with your kids, but you're like, the sport. So you're like, you'll be really good at that sport. How do I get you to be interested in it now? Because I feel like if my daughter runs her first race and loses, she's out. She's not going to want to fucking do it. But I just think that I'm nervous. I'm nervous. If I'm being completely honest, I am nervous about being a sports like parent. Because
I had
in my
both because my oldest was really good at baseball, and like I don't know baseball. My dad was English. I quit in first grade. I never had a chance. Are you kidding me? So he knew more about me. So after games, it was always me going like, so why did they do that? Like I know the rules. I watch baseball, but the whole like
right,
strategy stuff, I don't know.
right,
And then my youngest got into soccer, and like that's my game. But we battle all the time because we're doing the dad's of the coach, so he doesn't want to listen to me because I'm his stepdad. Yet I got 17 other kids who think, oh, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. So we've had that battle for years now, which I did to
wow,
my dad when I was a kid. And you're like, ah, oh, kid, like I am just explaining how you can be more successful.
yeah, yeah. All right. So when did your dad pass?
2019.
So was he close with the 13-year-old?
No, no, not close because I had just, um, I got married a couple months after he died. So
Okay.
he knew them, but they weren't like tight or anything. But that was also like a big thing, We were together and gonna get married, and then my dad dies, and the two kids have to go through that. That kind of sucked for them. I felt really bad about them having to go through that experience.
Yeah, I mean that's a great like segue because we realized today, like I was saying earlier, like my coworker had passed, right? And my 4.5-year-old knows about death. Like I don't really hear other 4 year, and it's not like it just so happens that like her grandmother passed like her first year. So, and we've just instilled who her grandmother was. So we've always Bubby this and Bubby that so she knows that. And then she knows like my stepfather passed, right? Like she was literally crying today, like, I miss Chef Ahmed. The comedian in me is like, you didn't even know him. But the dad in me was like, God, like, you have such a big heart. And then she's saying goodnight, and she's just like, good night, Bubby, good night, Papa, good night, Chef Ahmed, good night, Bob Ross, good night, Prince. And I'm like, I think we're doing okay. Like, if
Yeah,
but it's the whole death thing. It's like, she's 4 and she already knows like 5 major deaths to her.
yeah,
And Prince and Bob Ross are major to her because when she got into them, which was great, she's like, Dad, when can we go see Prince? And I'm like, we can't. He died. Oh, is he up there with Bubby too? So now I'm like making heaven like this party, you know what I mean? Like, which sucks, right? Because I don't want to instill that either. Like, wait, right?
or Jackson, because he was only 5, had all these questions, and they were such like comic relief. Like he's like, "So is Gary in heaven?" And we're like, "Yeah." Can you go wherever you want in heaven? Like, could he go to China? I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Sounds good." And then he's like, "Do you only see people you like in heaven?" We're like, "Yeah, heaven's great." And he's like, "Well, what if someone likes you but you don't like them?" And I'm like, just treat it like
Right.
family Thanksgiving. Just, sit in the corner and avoid them until they leave the room. But like, yeah, it was, and then his fish died a month later, and it was so funny to me because he's like, "What a terrible year! Gary died and my fish." And I know my dad. I'm not a big heaven guy, but if there was one, he'd be up there being like, "Bloody hell, it's me and a fish!" Like,
Right, right, right. Yeah. It's yeah, she had yeah, same thing. She had the fish and she had a snail. She had a snail die.
And like totally,
Like
but we got the fish because at my friend's Yankee Swap, we got a fish. And we literally said, hey, thanks, you're going to teach our youngest about death. Like, thanks for putting a fish in a Yankee Swap with a bunch of people who have kids.
right, 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 right. But that's like one of the reasons that I really wanted to do this podcast was because I just feel like these are things that like dudes never talk about, right? Like we never, on a car ride shooting the shit and being like, so, how do you think you're going to handle death with your first kid? You know what I mean? But I know a lot of new dads. I know a lot of like, I know dads that have kids that are older, like you, right? That have never even had the conversation about death. I think we joke around so much about like the sex conversation, but like the death conversation, I think is more intense than the sex because you could figure sex out. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And you're,
Somewhat.
yeah. And I feel like the death one has way more questions from the kid. Like, you have a sex conversation with a kid, they don't want to have that conversation either. They're like, I'd rather learn this anywhere else than from my friggin' dad
Right.
right now. Because we had those too, a little bit, and yeah, the death was way more and there's like
Right.
no good answer to give them.
Right. Yeah. There's like, and it's something that I've realized that like, not only as parents, but like nobody talks about it, right? Nobody knows what to do in that situation. Everyone handles grieving differently. Everybody never knows what to say. And
Yeah,
everyone always tries, right? You either try too hard by saying the wrong thing,
yeah,
or you don't say anything at all and it seems like you don't care. Just
yeah,
watching how like everybody like this guy, right? This guy that I work with was he had like 9 kids. And from 40s, he's 11 years older than I was, right? So he was like 62 and his oldest was like 45 all the way down to 3. Like, and he was an active father, right? Like he broke every stereotype there was. Active father, active grandfather, you know what I mean? Like I said, his grandson worked with us. He was and you're just like, this guy could have done a boot camp class for like dads. There's so much there that I'm like, I would love to instill into my kids.
yeah.
Like and that's kind of like, so with your boys, like if you had a moment, like not about the heavenly thing, but if you had a moment to talk to your dad about being a dad, from like how he was as a dad to like what you're seeing as being a dad, what do you like? What would you say to your dad? Like,
Like, ask them, or I,
I guess just in general, like
I guess like a lot of stuff I found out like later on about my dad just made me more impressed. Like, my dad had opportunities to, like, he only saw his dad like 3 times after he had kids because they were in another country and we couldn't afford to go back there. And his mom like maybe 5 times or 6 times, and he gave that all up for his kids. He like gave a lot up for his kids. So like, I knew coming into it, like, the kids have to be first because my dad did that for us and it was awesome. And so I've tried to do that, like, kids first. And my wife puts the kids first. My wife's like incredible parent, so I'm always trying to, you know, match her energy when it comes to that stuff. And
what's one thing you sacrifice as like a parent, step parent that like probably nobody knows?
that's a great question that nobody knows. I don't know. Like, it's like the day in and day out stuff. Like, before you have, it's your like time. When
Right.
I mean, but everyone knows that stuff. Everyone knows that stuff. But um, yeah, like, I don't know. You put stuff on hold. Like, when you have a job and you don't have kids, like, it's like whatever. And then when you have kids, you're like, ah, shit. Like, feed the table, pay the rent. That shit's like serious now. Like now there's like other people that depend on you, and so like you're like this job sucks, but it also pays for all this stuff for the kids. So it's like I'll do that, no problem. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, like as a comedian, right? You always have that thought, man, maybe I should just go out on the road and like give it one shot, you know? But like,
I don't ever think that ever.
no,
I
you
used to,
did,
but
but you have kids, so you can't, right? You're like, yeah, it's not even like a financial. Like, I miss my kids too much. I miss my wife too much. I can't do it, and I can't take my wife with me because can't take the whole family on that. You know,
yeah.
like that road dog. I'm sleeping in a rest area. I'm gonna give it 6 months to see if I can make it happen. And when once you have kids, that feeling goes away because you're just like, nah, I'd miss my kids too much.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's I mean I look at it that way with cuz you and I have spoken about it in the past with like going on cruise ships. You know, like
Yeah,
I thought that's what I really wanted to do, and I think even married, I thought it would solve a lot of problems. Like you start hearing the money that they're bringing in, and you're like, that would be great. You know, that
yeah,
would, and but the thought of like missing out on the Elmo slide 2 weeks ago or a soccer game, or I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll just keep doing what I'm
yeah,
doing. You know, like I rather, because I didn't get to really do that with my oldest. So like, I don't know if with your age, 8 years, right, with the
yeah,
boys, right,
yeah,
13 and 5, or no,
yeah. Like
21 and 5,
21, 8 years.
21, 8 years, right? Where, I mean, when you have that age gap, I think there's that, I get another chance, just to do something different. Not to do it better, but just to do something different. And that's one big thing for me is like to be present, like to be available.
It's
So I'm
awesome.
quitting comedy. That's what this podcast is really about. I'm just gonna hone in on talking to dads for the rest of my life. I mean, it's crazy. Like somebody had asked me that. They're like, my room. There's young comics, right? And it's always funny to me when they're like, "Can I pick your brain?" And I'm like, "Sure." And they're like, "I just, I was just you look so comfortable up there. I want to get to your level." And I'm like, "What level? You're here. Like you're at the
Yeah,
same show." But as talking, and I'm like, this is the first time in my life that I'm saying stuff to people where I'm actually taking a step back and actually believing it. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, just be okay with where you're at. I'm not
yeah,
competing with anybody. I would rather do this. I would rather do our podcast and some shows and just have fun. But like to go through with like what I see a lot of people go through, I don't have that in me anymore like I used to. I don't.
yeah. Like even with kids, when you're doing it, like young comics will be, what? You drove like 4 hours up there and 4 hours back in the same night, and it's like, well, yeah, my kid's got baseball tomorrow. Like, or you get like a free room for a weekend at the casino, and you're like, yeah, I'm not even using it because my kid's got sports the next day, so I'm going back and forth. And like a young comic's like, what? And you're like, yeah, I don't want
Yeah.
to miss my kids' games. Like my wife
Yeah.
used to always say, because we had years ago we had Blue Man Group tickets in New York, and then of course the elementary school band concerts put that night, so we end up not going because my wife's like, you know what? If we go, he'll never remember, but if we don't go, he'll remember. So we skipped out on that. And like when you don't have kids, you're like, there's no way
That's
you would make that decision. And then you have kids, you're like 100% all day you're gonna make that decision.
I like that. I'm gonna see if I could put that into the episode somehow. I like that comment. Like if you go, they're never gonna remember, right? But if you don't go, they'll remember it. Like
Yeah,
it's so true though. Like like
yeah,
I was so we're at this four-year old pre-K recital that's maybe 45 minutes, right? And you're so happy, right? You're looking at your kid's looking at you, you're filming. This is great. It's me, my wife, my other daughter, and my mom comes down, right? So her family's there. And then you see the kid that's going like this, like looking for their parents and their family and can't find them at all. And like the devastation feeling, right? And it could be as simple as like they work, right? Like
yeah.
not even about jumping, to the, oh, they're deadbeats or something like that. It's like
Yeah.
maybe they were just this was 5:30 on a Tuesday. Maybe they just couldn't get out of work. They looked at it as like, it's no big deal, not realizing that when these kids walked out, like how crazy it was to see that many people, which was probably like 80 people to 100 people in this auditorium,
Yeah.
and overwhelmed. And there was one girl whose family was there, and she was crying like hysterically crying because of her being so overwhelmed. So
Yeah.
it's so true, like what your wife said, that like they'll remember that forever. But you're there. I'll bring that up next week and be like, oh, remember we went to Elmo's side? And she's like, Dad, you were there? Like, what are you talking about? I was filming. Like that was the other thing too. That was the other thing too, is like filming, right? Do I film to keep it, or do I be present? So like making that decision with my wife, like, you be present, I'll film, and then you film next time and I'll be present. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm always gonna be the
The filmer. You always the
yeah,
filmer, or are
yeah.
you gonna be the present guy?
I have to be the filmer because she'll get emotional. The camera will go down. We won't get any footage. It'll just be something we get into a fight about. It'll just be something we get into a fight about. Like, you had one job, but
Yeah, I mean, like for my youngest, because he was at that age, like I'd be doing open mics and stuff like that, and when I wasn't, I would do the bedtime stuff. So I'm doing like bedtime stuff over FaceTime from like green rooms and stuff, or outside some dive bar, to be consistent. And it is like you just become so connected to those kids that you don't want to let them down, and you just want to be consistency. And there's some 23-year-old like looking at you like, what are you doing? It's like one bedtime. Why are you out in the rain outside this place? Because there's nowhere else to do it in the restaurant because it's loud or something, or in the club. And you're like, yeah, man, you'll get it when you have a kid. Like, you'll get it. But I get, you don't get it now, but
right,
you will get it.
right. It's my favorite question to ask, like, any comic that just had a kid. A great example, which I'll have him on here, is Matt Brown. Like, I
Oh,
did a
he's
show with
awesome.
Matt Brown, and yeah, and you could just see his face, right? It was just like different. And I said, how's your son? And he goes, my God, he's like the best thing ever. Right? He's so adorable. I can't get enough of him. And I'm like, how do you feel about comedy? And he just like paused, and he couldn't like put it into words. And I'm like, you don't give a shit. You just want to get home back to your kid now. You don't care if they like you or not. And he was
Yeah.
just, and you could just see the sigh of relief, like, yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. Like, my kid doesn't care how I do. My
Yeah.
kid never barely asks how my show went. But yeah, I'm off this week, and it's the first time that I'm off from Thursday through Saturday in a long time. I'll be at the restaurant, but there's an excitement too that I'm like, I'm coming home. I won't
Yeah,
be
but didn't
excited
you
once I don't get
feel,
paid, but
don't you feel too, like I always felt like once I became a parent, I was like, I want them, I want to get good enough where they can see that, like, I put all this in, like they'd be proud of me or something. I'm not even saying the right words, but like, I also wanted them to, to be like, hey, I'm not around at 8 o'clock a lot. And it was for my wife too, because like, right, when you have a wife and you're a comedian, like, life is so different than normal people. Like, normal people go to work during the week and they hang out with their spouse on Friday and Saturday. And if you're a comedian, that is not your life. And so, like, same with the kids, like, we're doing game nights on like Tuesday nights because I'm gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So,
right,
I wanted someday for them to be able to come see me and go, oh, like, he's pretty good at this. Like, all that work was for something. I don't know. It's probably a stupid thought, but and my oldest has come to quite a few shows over the last couple of years, so which was cool.
what was that like performing in front of him like the first time?
A little nerve wracking, because I want to say he was 17 when he came the first time, and it's like, man, what if he doesn't laugh? Like, holy shit! Worked really hard on being like cool and knowing what to do, and if I eat shit up here, I'm gonna have to start from scratch on that. So, But I just think he was cool because like not many people have parents who are doing stuff like that, right? Like it was at the Comedy Connection, like he's on a guest list, and they sat him up front, and so I think he thought it was pretty cool. Your daughter come see you?
She has. It was a while, like when she was younger, she would see like clips and flyers, but I always told her she couldn't go until she was 16. And then because I wanted her, like it's crazy because as she got older, I told her I would rather her learn about life at a comedy show than at in school. I'd rather her hear it from a girl comic or just comedians being raw and being like, "Dad, what was he talking about?" And being like, "That's life. That's what it really is. He's just making fun of it, or she's just making fun of it." And I remember the first time she saw me, yeah, it was nerve wracking. But the first time I heard her laugh and I saw her laugh, it was the best thing I've ever like experienced. Even to this day, like hearing her like laugh at my set, on stage or afterwards is better than I could get bombarded after a show and people want autographs. That's never happened, but like whatever people do for celebrities, none of that would trump anything like that feeling of like seeing my daughter like hysterically laugh. And then my young one, she was at we took her to a show when she was like an infant because we had no choice. And I almost got into a fight in that show. And I never, that's not me as a comic. But this heckler was just, and I kept saying, like, I kept shutting him down. And I was just like, I acknowledged it, was like, that guy's probably going to kill me after this in front of my kid and in front of my newborn and my wife. And we just left afterwards. But she knows, like, she sees, like, she'll see clips. Like, I was writing stuff down today and she's like, Dad, what are you doing? And I just talked to her like she's like an adult, you know? Like, I'm doing a podcast, you know?
You just turn to her and say, "Hey, what do you know about dads? Got any good questions for a dad, Ronnie? What do you got?"
Yeah, I mean that's like the whole thing too. So the way I wanted to end every episode is like I just want to give you some rapid questions, right?
Yeah.
First answer that comes to your head. Okay.
Okay.
This is like a don't be a hero round. Okay.
Okay.
That's what we're calling it. All right, and then two more, and then two questions to end it, and then we'll wrap it up.
All
But
right.
okay. So family road trip or kid's birthday party?
Family road trip.
Teenager attitude or toddler attitude?
I don't know. I never had toddlers. I never had a toddler. So I'll say I'll
Okay.
take teenager attitude because I can make fun of
All
that.
right. All right. All right. When was the last time you felt like you were failing as a father?
The last time, uh, when the 21-year-old turned 21 and I couldn't keep up drinking with him.
Okay. All right. All right. When do you feel most alone as a dad?
Uh, Probably like weirdly like I sometimes I take the stepdad thing and I like let it kind of overtake, be like, "Oh, these other people, they don't think I'm a real dad." You know?
Hmm.
Like they think I'm just like part-time dad or something like that. And so that makes me feel, and I don't ever say anything about it, but I like that will bother me sometimes. When I shouldn't, because my
Okay.
kids don't feel that way, so I don't know why I give a fuck.
Right. 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 What's something you finally understand about your parents now that you have like your kids? That now that you're a parent.
Something I understand about my parents, like, oh, I get, I get what it's like to deal with that breaking the rules thing and always worrying about your kid. Like, I get that now. Like, when
Right.
my parents would worry constantly about me and my friends, and I get it now, because now
Mm.
I worry a lot.
Okay. All right. So last two questions. Your wife doesn't get the answer. Your kids don't know the answer. Brutally honest. What is your ideal Father's Day if you were allowed to do whatever you wanted to do on Father's Day?
Uh, the four of us just doing like shit at the house, like yard games and stuff. Um,
Nice.
yeah, yeah. Like I don't know. I'm not a big golfer. I've I lived a pretty good life before I had kids in it, so it's not like
Nice.
something I'm like, oh, I got to do this on Father's Day because it's awesome. I love hanging out with my family. So it's a boring
Nice.
answer,
Nice.
I know, but
Not at all. Not at all. That's the whole thing. It's not, it's your answer. I mean, I love that. That wasn't my answer, but my answer is I just want to recuperate from Mother's Day. I'm trying to start this thing. Mother's Day and Father's Day should just be like the morning to like mid afternoon. And then from the afternoon on, you could do whatever you want because it's your day. It's your day. If you
yeah,
want to still be with the family, then do it. But you're only really responsible for the morning and lunch. That's it. You know, take up all this pressure off everybody on these holidays. But that's just because I fucking hate holidays. But, and last question. All right, before we end tonight. If you weren't here tomorrow, what would you want your kids to carry on for the rest of their life that they learn from you? Kind of like what you've learned from your dad.
uh, like enjoy life, don't sweat it. You know, that's have a good time, not in like a bad way, but just laugh a lot. That would be my thing. You know, I don't have smarts to give them or any shit like that. So that's what I would say to them. Don't take it too serious. Enjoy it.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. I'm really happy that you were my guest today. Me and your pops. For those who are tuning in, watching this is JJ Jones. You can check him out on. You want to say your handles?
J Jones Comedy on Instagram and TikTok, and jjjonescomedy.com. And yeah, I don't think I have any other handles.
That's what's up. So I really appreciate it, man. And that's it for
Thank you
today.
for having me, brother.